Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So a lot of you guys wrote into me letting me know that you wanted me to check out and respond to this video from Steven Crowder. He's a popular YouTuber, comedian, commentator, and I have to admit, I really don't know much about him, but after watching this video, it confirmed my suspicion that most anti-vegans hate vegans by definition. They also hate other minority groups of people.
In CNN, there was a recent, did you see the climate town hall?
Yeah.
By the way, they're doing an LGBTQ town hall.
What?
For LGBT issues.
Oh.
That'll be fun.
Like what? You're already competing in women's mixed martial arts. Number 1 and 2 track and field stars are men.
So now you see what kind of person we're dealing with here. And for the rest of the video, he turns that hate and ignorance that you just saw there into debunking veganism. And this is your classic anti-vegan debunk. No solid arguments, no great statistics or facts. He's just pretty much cherry-picking data from mainstream media sources and making stuff up.
Veganism, this is something you don't hear a lot, is potentially much worse for the planet.
No.
Let me cycle through this.
Oh really, this ought to be interesting since animal agriculture is the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions. It's also the leading cause of habitat destruction, ocean dead zones, water pollution. This ought to be good.
Omnivorous farming is actually a lot more sustainable than the vegan model. Topsoil erosion.
Yeah,
So
right.
globally, we have, I want to make sure I get this right, 25 to 40 billion tons of topsoil are lost every year to erosion, mainly due to plowing, intense cropping.
Yeah.
Just want to add here that nearly half of the contiguous United States is devoted to animal agriculture, so you really can't blame this on veganism.
So the way to combat this, the topsoil, is just letting the land, just letting it return to being grazed
Let it
pasture for a
be.
period, and that results in complete halting of the erosion, and it rebuilds the soil.
All right, so here Steve referred to a report from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. And nowhere in this FAO report does it cast blame on veganism or people are eating more plants being responsible for soil erosion. It has to do with population growth, urbanization, and climate change.
So the way to combat this, the topsoil, is just letting the land, just letting it return to being grazed
Let it
pasture for a
be.
period, and that results in complete halting of the erosion, and it rebuilds the soil.
So now I want to highlight the fact that this last source from The Guardian that Steve cites here is not a scientific study, it's not a UN report, it's an opinion piece written in The Guardian. So let me show you how intellectually dishonest Steven is here. This is mind-blowing. I'm not surprised, actually. Well, first of all, I said that the way to restore soils is to have cattle graze them, and that's based upon an opinion piece in The Guardian. However, if you go back to the FAO, the United Nations FAO report that he cited, which he thought was supporting his point of view, they make no mention as far as having cattle grazed eroded soils to restore them. In fact, they say what's the best methods here? It's to actually properly manage the soils, and that has nothing to do with grazing cattle. And to further debunk this notion of Steve's that we need to have cattle graze the eroded soils in order to restore them, all we need to do is look at another FAO report, which clearly casts blame on intensely grazed pasture lands as a major cause of soil erosion. So how can the cause of soil erosion be the solution of soil erosion, Stephen? You're just making crap up, cherry picking data from one source to another source, and not even keeping it consistent as far as if are you going to follow science or just opinion pieces.
So the way to combat this, the topsoil, is just letting the land, just letting it return to being grazed
Let it
pasture for a
be.
period, and that results in complete halting.
Nope, that's not what the science says. That's just your own personal fantasy.
So another reason that
Immediately.
veganism might be worse for the environment, people don't think about this, it's often overlooked, the importation of foods.
Yeah.
Oh really, Stephen? Please tell me more how only vegans import their food. Really, you're just, again, making crap up.
Because they want a varied diet, and it requires a lot of food like quinoa, avocados, they be imported.
There's so much wrong there, I don't even know where to start. Well, first of all, I'll start with, I always like it when non-vegans try to fantasize about what they believe vegans eat a lot of. In his case here, avocados and quinoa. I hate to break it to you, Stephen, but you can easily be a vegan and not have avocados or quinoa. In fact, I don't even remember the last time I made quinoa here. That may have been a year or two ago, which leads me to the bigger point that avocados and quinoa, which you find in the markets, are not brought here for the purpose of vegans, tons of regular meat-eating people eat avocados and quinoa, and I've seen no research saying that a disproportionate amount of vegans eat these foods. Again, you're just making crap up.
What do you think is better for the environment? Eating venison from a deer you bagged yourself, or eating meat from your local yak farm, for all I know? Or fixing yourself $20 toast with avocados that were grown in Mexican tap water and tossed into trucks to travel 2,500 miles?
Yeah, that's not even a question at that point. Come on.
Well, yes, this is a question that can be answered. Just don't assume it cannot be answered because you have a silly little argument that you made here. But let me just put you guys on pause for just a second about veganism and the environment, because yes, veganism is intimately tied to our environmental fate, as the United Nations has recently said. But at its core, veganism is not an environmental movement. It's a moral and ethical principle. It's about not needlessly killing sentient animals. And as you suggested here, hunting a deer is an immoral act. You're talking about killing an animal. Who wants to continue living just like you and I do? But anyway, let's get back to this data that I promised. This published peer-reviewed study here analyzed the relationship between food miles and greenhouse gas emissions. And they conclude that on average, red meat is around 150% more greenhouse gas intensive than chicken or fish, and that percentage holds true when compared to plants as well. So they suggest that dietary shift can be a more effective means of lowering an average household's food-related climate footprint than buying local or hunting local. In fact, their calculations showed that shifting one entire day's eating per week of red meat over to a plant-based diet would have the same climate impact of buying all your food from local providers.
So another reason,
that's
number
reasonable.
4, this is something you were just talking about. The animals actually killed to protect and to create these crop yields.
Yeah, it's a thing.
A lot of vegans may not realize this. Do you know how it's 20, especially certain grains like wheat?
So now Stephen is saying that the grain grown for us vegans is responsible for countless animals being killed, yet he fails to take into account that about half the grain grown in the world is fed to livestock, not vegans.
Results in 25 times more sentient animals being killed per kilogram of usable protein. There's more environmental damage. There's more animal cruelty than farming red meat. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, you're talking about grains. We could solve that problem if we go vegan and gluten grain-free. Yeah, but that's just too gay.
No.
All right, more homophobia. But anyway, let's have a look at some of these numbers Stephen put up here, which again are not from a peer-reviewed study, from a mainstream media publication. But anyway, it says that producing wheat and grain results in at least 25 times more sentient animals being killed per kilogram of usable protein. It seems quite odd, though, that they chose protein as their unit of measure here, because why choose protein? Why not choose calories? People eat food, they just don't eat macronutrients. Furthermore, grains, compared to meat, are far less protein dense, which further skews these calculations. However, once you do start comparing these foods on the basis of calories, number of animals killed to produce 1 million calories in 8 food categories, you'll see that grains and fruits are at the bottom of this list and the animal products are up at the top.
This neo-environmentalism and veganism, it's not that it's pro-animal. We all love animals. It's anti-human.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are the same people. A lot of people don't understand this. These are the same people who lobbied and created the trans fat epidemic in this country. So, for example, McDonald's, they used to use tallow for fries. After lobbying from vegetarians to the USDA, they switched to hydrogenated vegetable oils because it was healthier.
Really, Stephen, you're saying that trans fat is actually good and healthy and it's only been demonized because of some kind of vegan or vegetarian conspiracy? What else are you going to say? That cholesterol and saturated fat are good for us too?
The same thing for the vilification of eggs, dietary cholesterol, saturated fat.
No surprise, I should have figured.
The reason a lot of misinformation regarding dietary cholesterol and the saturated fat was because of the vegetarian lobby and their agenda above truth. And they're doing the same thing now.
Oh, really, Stephen? So there's some super powerful vegetarian lobbying group that's responsible for the vilification of cholesterol and saturated fat and trans fat. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Don't you realize the most powerful lobbying groups in the United States as far as food goes are the meat and dairy industries? They get subsidies from the government to drive down the cost of their products. They have an unfair advantage when it comes to marketing because us taxpayers pay into a fund to fund a group ran by the government called the Egg Board or the Dairy Board, which promotes these products through marketing. Money goes to marketing these products, so people want to eat more of your animal products here. So don't give me any more if this of this crazy nonsense conspiracy theory of this super powerful broccoli industry driving legislation. You've just got to be kidding. I can't believe you're saying that with a straight face as you try to justify your poor dietary choices and your not environmentally friendly choices as well, and trying to blame it all on veganism, turn the tables. This is complete misinformation. It's just ironic. He's trying to say that we're putting out misinformation. I mean, projecting much there, Stephen. And I know that Vegan Gains beat me to making a video response about this, and I saw Richard challenge you to a debate, and I welcome that as well. We would love, I'm sure I can speak for Richard, to come onto your platform, or come on one to ours, and we'll discuss this in a rational and logical way. Leave your questions and comments down below. What did you think when you first saw this video? Assuming you saw it before I did. What do you think of all these anti-vegans lately? Powerful media anti-vegans just trashing veganism with complete lies and nonsense. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Hit like, share this video. And remember, guys, to please vote vegan. Let's make a change. Yes, I'm running for City Council in Long Beach, District 2, on the Humane Party platform. If you live in Long Beach, you can vote for me next year in March. And if you live anywhere in the United States, you can contribute to my campaign. Please, everyone, go check out my website, ryanlum.net.